Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Here's a nightmare I had when I was very young. I've posted this before, but I guess I'll do it again. 5 years old. At my mom's old workplace. She used to work at some weird psychology building. I used to make short visits there whenever she was running errands, and I'd wait in the front office with a lollipop or magazine. She's standing near the hallway, talking and laughing with friends. Dozens of vibrant neon signs and colorful paintings cover the walls of the room. There's a statue in the corner. It depicts a humanoid figure that is covered in black fur and has a wolf's head and tail. It was about 7 feet tall. Its white eyes stare quietly into space. Look out the window. The sun is beginning to set outside. Mom's friends leave the building. She pulls out her Nokia cell phone and starts talking to my dad with a smile on her face. She laughs as she talks. She's very happy about something. After a while, she hangs up. She smiles at me and waves, and walks away, leaving me completely alone in the building. The statue walks off its base. It stares down at me with its bright, white eyes. It doesn't growl or bark, it just stands there silently staring right at me. Without warning, it jumps down on all fours and rushes at me. It tackles me, and then wraps its arms around me in a warm embrace. Everything goes dark, but I feel at peace. I wake up, shaking with fear. This is the only nightmare I've had in my entire life that I really remember at all. I usually forget them completely an hour or two after waking up.
Visiting twin cousins when I was about 10. Near their house, there is a steep hill leading to some woods. The twins, their younger brother, my brother, and me all go outside to play. We were in the woods sword fighting with tree branches. Young cousin says that he saw something moving behind the trees. We all stop and look where he pointed. A couple 100 feet away we see what looked like a man with orange hair ducking behind some trees. We didn't fuck around and started yelling about a stranger and ran back to the house. The run back up the hill was especially terrifying since I was too afraid to look back to see where he was. Dad and Uncle go out to the woods to look for him after we tell them what happened. Nowhere to be found. Dad wanted to call the cops, but Uncle didn't want to bother them or something stupid like that. Fast forward a few years back at my house. Dad had bought me and my brothers and an ATV. Still a little young, but he let me ride it. We have 50 acres of land with 10 of them being woods at the end. Do little loops up and down the property. Go in one side of the woods and out the other usually. See picture. Right as I was about to drive into the woods, I see the same man with orange hair across the field. Standing by a tree near the exit to the woods. Slam on the handbrake and turn around as fast as I possibly could. Nope the fuck back home. I don't want to say it was something supernatural since I'm fairly skeptical about things, but there was something really off about that guy besides the fact that he was creeping around in the woods. I'm not scared of clowns of leprechauns or anything, so I'd have no reason to imagine something as weird as that.
So I was in Arizona visiting my grandma and grandpa. I was a young little fuck, let's say 13. Grandpa was this old army vet. Tough as fuck. Always had a cigar in his mouth. Swore like a sailor. Had to get shit-faced every night to sleep. He was still cool as fuck to me. Always let me shoot guns with him in the desert. So one day of vacation, Mom and Dad get roped into looking at some houses with Grandma. They thought we were gonna move down there. Grandpa evacs me from that shit and we hop in his truck to head into the desert to go pow pow. Drive out miles on some random trail, can't see the town we came from. Can't see shit but sand and cactuses. Perfect. Start setting up cans and random metal targets from Gramps' truck out a few yards away like usual. Get shit set up and meet Gramps back at the truck. This is how I know my grandpa wasn't fucking around for the rest of this. He kneels down next to me and puts his hand on my shoulder. Bonding time.mp4.
Anon, you're a smart kid. Good shot, so I want you to see this.
Granddad takes a handgun from the back of his waistband and hands it to me. Old as fuck 1911, heavy as shit with scratches and marks all over it. Granddad tells me that was his service pistol and he wanted me to shoot it that night. Felt slick as fuck. Even better when Granddad took a holster from the back of the truck and helped me put it on my waist. Holster held the gun and 2 extra mags. Remember feeling like a cowboy lol. Granddad gets a rifle from the truck and sets up on the back. About an hour or so into shooting, it starts to get dark. If you've ever been in the desert at just about sundown, the whole sky lights up with colors. Makes me think there's a god for a bit. Gramps thinks we should start heading out. We both walk over to start picking up targets and cans that are still intact. I walk out to the far targets like a cowboy, bow-legged, feeling cool, handgun in my right hand. Get a huge whiff of shit all of a sudden. Turn looking around for the source and peeking over a small dune. Maybe 30 feet away was this overweight white guy in a very dirty white shirt. Thing had holes and was covered in dirt and muck. Looks like he hasn't seen civilization in months. Hair was all frazzled and he had the blankest look on his face. Guy starts walking up and over the mound towards me and I instantly halt tracks and start to backpedal. Gramps takes notice and yells at the guy to fuck off, and that he has a gun. Guy doesn't even glance at him and just keeps walking at me. So fight or flight, right? Usually the brain picks one. Mine tried to pick both. Feet tried to run. Arms raised the handgun to fire. End up stumbling and shooting a round off into the distance. Next few seconds felt like minutes. Big guy starts sprinting at me, yelling with this unholy gurgle. Sounded like a water pump with the bass cranked up. I turned and ran towards Gramps, who had already started advancing, rifle raised. I am about 20 feet from Gramps when he fires 3 shots to my right. I hear that dull thunk of bullets tearing through flesh and fat. Turn head over shoulder and see nothing. No fat guy, no bullet holes, nothing. Turn back to Grandpa, who is about 10 feet away, and he looks as confused and scared as I feel. Keep running towards him when I hear a gurgle off to my right. A thin little fucker who could have been Lardo's brother comes over another small dune maybe 30 feet from my grandpa, and guy looks just as bad. His pants are torn and he has no shoes. Feet must have been blistered to shit. Grandpa's doesn't even wait with this one and dumps 5 bullets into him. I was pretty close to him and didn't expect more shooting, so in panic I dropped his 1911 in the sand right by his feet as he's firing. I see all the bullets hit Skinny, center mass, and he falls back over the dune, and that telltale ping of the Garand telling us she's empty. Gramps looks down at his handgun, then grabs me, throwing me under his arm, and hauls ass to the truck. Didn't complain. Was starting to cry at this time. Throws his rifle in the back and peels the heel out of the clearing. Had to drive around the dune where Skinny was. No body at the bottom, but there were marks in the dune to where a body could have slid down. I've never done 80 over sand in a truck again, but I bet if I wasn't shitting myself that Grandpa murdered 2 people I would have found it fun. After I've calmed down, we still have a good 30 minutes until we're back home. Grandpa's doesn't mention anything about what happens and drives right past home and goes to Walmart. Takes me to the video games section and buys me an Xbox 360 and Halo. Imagining ourselves at the checkout sounds fucking funny. I looked petrified and he had that 1,000-yard stare ever since we got in the truck. On the way back home, he tells me not to say anything to my parents and just go to bed. Find out he told them that I had almost had an accident by shooting myself, which wasn't a lie, and that it had really freaked me out, so he bought me a present. Find out he tells Dad that he lost his 1911 last year in the move. I left vacation never able to talk to him about it. He died about 2 years later, went peacefully in his sleep. After I got older and started diving into X, I realized what happened that night. That or Grandpa had magic bullets that make bodies disappear.
Be me. Junior year in high school. Kinda high. Nothing I couldn't handle, and I've never had any hallucinations even close to this. If that's what it was, I decided to walk down the nearest corner store, about half a mile away. Really all there is in this neighborhood are lower middle class Mexicans, some sketchy areas but not too bad. Be in line in store and there's this abnormally tall white guy who totally stands out from everyone there. Lanky guy in jeans and leather jacket, bomber jacket, can't recall. Kinda looked like Mick Jagger but had almost no wrinkles in his face and his clothes looked brand new, really white teeth too. In line waiting he begins talking to me. I couldn't make out what he was saying. Whatever it was seemed to blend into the music playing in the store and all I did in response was laugh and nod my head. Though I did make out a seemingly Australian accent. Only people that seem to notice him are me and the cashier, and I remember being able to understand the cashier unlike the guy. As I leave I could make out him yelling, "Be safe. Be almost home," in the back streets where there isn't really anyone out. 11 p.m. It was a summer night, so it was considerably warm out. Hear footsteps close behind me so I turn around. Tall white dude grabs me by the shoulders. His clothes were completely different now. There was like an aura of cold air around him. When he grabbed me I got drawn in it and it felt as if the temperature dropped 20 degrees and his hands were cold as if he had no body heat. Looked him right in the eyes. His pupils were massive, almost covering his whole eye. When he spoke his accent was completely gone and his voice was incredibly deep but monotone. "You must go home, but do not run. Now." When he was speaking I felt completely calm in his cold presence, but once he said "now" I felt like an instant rush of adrenaline like nothing I've ever felt. Speed walked the fuck home, locked the door and shut myself away in my room. My dog was going crazy all night, barking at something outside every 5 minutes, not that I was intending on getting sleep. Besides my dog everything was completely silent, no noise outside at all. I didn't touch weed for the rest of high school. I still can't find any explanation for what happened and nobody I told the story to could ever seem to remember seeing a guy like that around town.
When I was kid, and to this day, I had an influx of luck. When something good happened, something bad happened to balance it. One day in 4th grade my school, I entered iRaffle to gain a phone. At the time having a cell phone was something amazing, and this time I won. I was ecstatic and that night I put the phone to charge and went to sleep. My electric fan fell on the floor and got its blade stuck. The fan overheated and caught on fire. I would be dead if wasn't a light sleeper. When I started to get unbearably hot, I woke up and saw the fire so near my face. I rushed and went to my parents' room and said that my room was on fire. The only thought that I was having a nightmare, but my father noticed the light and rushed to call the firefighters and the neighbors to help stop the fire. Everything in my room was completely charred, except for a painting of an angel my grandmother had painted. And my phone that was not in my room as it was stolen when the neighbors entered the house. Also, here's picture of the angel that my grandma made and the only thing in my room to survive the fire.
I have this one from when I was a kid. My brother confirms it too as he was with me. It was a dark rainy night, as they usually are. And I was in the living room, sitting on the couch watching TV with my brother. The TV is in front of the couch. To the right is the entrance hall and to the left is a big window facing outside into the countryside. Suddenly a flash of lightning lit the room from the window and the power went out, turning the room pitch black. Then, as we sat in the dark, a soccer ball-sized globe of light appeared outside, to our left, phased through the window and levitated to the middle of the room right between us and the TV, where it stood there for a second or so before it vanished. As we waited for our dad to bring the power back on, I could feel every little hair in my body standing up. Kinda similar to when you put your arm next to an old TV screen when you turn it off. That night, neither I or my brother mentioned what we saw, nor throughout the week. To be honest, I wasn't certain if what I saw was real, so I didn't say anything because I was afraid he would make fun of me. But when I finally told him what I saw, he agreed with me and said he saw and felt the exact same thing.
I've told this one a few times and I hope I'm getting better at telling it. This is about a house that is only haunted on the first floor. Be me, 7 years old. Traveling with mom to see family for Thanksgiving or something. Heading down south, about a day and a half drive, so we decide to stay the night at an old friend's house along the way, making it a full 2-day trip. The friend is a devout Christian, but she married a biker who was abusive and was probably involved with some spooky shit prior to the Christian scene. They had been living in that house since they had been married 16 years beforehand, so the place was sort of marinated in negativity. She managed to have 4 children with the douche, all daughters. 2 of the daughters were at a friend's house at the time, but it was pretty chill for the few hours the rest of us hung out. Swam in the pool, showed them my Club Penguin, it was lit. About time to hit the sack. All 3 rooms are upstairs. Doobie and Sophia were sleeping in another room. I share a room with my mom. I'm in a princess bed, but I don't care, it's pretty pleasant and the first time I slept with a comforter, so I'm out like a light. Wake up in a cold sweat, dead of night and everyone's asleep. Am thirsty. Don't want to wake mom up, so I sneak out of the room and leave the door cracked. I head to the staircase to get some water from downstairs. I look down. At the base of the eerily lit stairwell, I see a blurry, dark silhouette of a man standing there, not moving, almost looking up the staircase, contemplating whether or not to ascend it. Just sort of lock up in fear. I get a massive head rush, like I lose my vision and balance. I also start hearing ringing in my ears. Literally start screaming right there because I have no idea what the fuck is happening. Mom comes out. What the hell, Anon? What are you doing? I tell her and she's always been an easy spook, so she puts me to bed and goes down to get the water for me. We, mom, dad at the time, and I, had stayed there once when I was 5 years old for 3 nights in a row. This just confirms that the first floor is haunted. I guess I should have told this one first. First evening, the friends made dinner and hung out in the pool area with mom and dad in the kitchen, getting something. I want to check out the piano room. There are no doors, but as soon as I pass under the archway, I put my hands on my knees for some reason. I think it was because of a similar head rush. When I look up, I see a shadow fly into the other shadows. Slightly spooked. Instantly tell mom. She's like, whatever. But after a couple glasses of wine, she later leans over to me and says something like, there are definitely some demons here. What the hell, mom? I sleep downstairs because their couch is comfy, end up having a nightmare in which all of my friends from pre-K stole all my books and threw them on the ground and then threw me into a crocodile-infested ditch. Start screaming in my sleep. Have a false awakening that my mom is waking me up. She has no fucking eyes. Start screaming again until my mom actually does wake me up. Never sleep downstairs again. Second evening. Never played the piano in my life. Sit down on the piano and hear a tune in my head. Keep pressing the notes until they sound right. It's just the melody, but the biker, Donnie, marches in and, with the whitest face I'd ever seen, say, dude, that was my abuela's song. Jesus Christ. How do you know that? He hadn't heard it since she died. Third day was pretty uneventful.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.